All right, good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 21st. Good to see you again today. Today's reading will be Esther, chapters 1 through 3. Now remember, as we said before, Esther would fall in the middle of Ezra. And when this talks about King Ahasuerus, that is also the same as Xerxes. Now going back and doing a little bit of research for you, Esther is the only book that doesn't mention God, but you see God all the way through it. This creates controversy in the eyes of some people that maybe the book doesn't belong there. They try to find other inaccuracies. I'll show you one of them that they claim. Now the writer of this, some think it's Mordecai, but however chapter 10 refers to Mordecai in the past tense. So remember, in Daniel's image, there was the head of gold that was the Babylonian Empire. The Medes and Persians, which Esther falls into, is the breast of silver. Now we're getting towards the end of the breast of silver, and we're getting now into the belly of brass, which is the Greek Empire. And so now if you have VidAngel and you've ever seen the movie 300, which nobody's claiming to be factual as far as how it was depicted. It is a narration of one man trying to rally troops later on, but King Leonidas versus Xerxes. This Ahasuerus is Xerxes. And what we're finding in chapter 1 is we're finding somewhat of a pep rally by Xerxes or Ahasuerus to rally everybody to go attack Europe. Now what we find here, look at Esther 1:3, you find in the 3rd year of his reign. And then in chapter 2 verse 16 you find it's the 7th year. So what has happened in this time, Xerxes leads an army up and loses in Greece. Now, of course, the Battle of Thermopylae, Hot Gates, isn't where it all ended, but that rallied people. And so it's interesting here, he goes back to Persia, Shushan. Remember, Babylon was the capital of the Babylonian Empire, and then it's moved to Shushan. Ezekiel went there briefly, like in a teleportation type thing. Daniel did as well, but then Daniel ended up moving there. Now this takes place in Shushan. So they go up, they attack, they get driven back, and that ends up rallying all the Greeks together. They go from city-states to more of a country, led by Alexander the Great, who then goes back and leads armies against all the way over to India, but dies in Babylon. And so all this right here is, how it all works together. Okay, we don't see the word God in Esther, but you know what? We see how it fits. We see how everything goes together. If you just want to pick out a verse or two out of this thing, then yeah, you're not going to see God in it. But when you see how it's all cohesive and it all works together, it's all placed, yes, it's still there. It's still the word of God. Now what we find here, Haman was being promoted. If he would have just stayed with that, everything would have been fine. There's something about the Jewish people that people who hate God hate them. Remember, we talked about this before. The very existence of Jews proves God's existence. Calling them God's chosen people doesn't mean that we think they're perfect or anything of that nature. But what we do find is God's protection of them. Haman would have lived out his life and been a powerful person in the Persian Empire had he just kept to himself. I often wonder how the Germans would have done in World War II had they just focused on war instead of actually trying to exterminate the Jews. All right, chapter 1. So this is the pep rally trying to get Vashti out to show off and be immodest. She refuses, and then you see the insecurity of men here. This isn't what God's telling us to do. But the rest of the lady folk are going to do this if we, that's the insecurity of men. That's not Christianity. Chapter 2 begins, yes, it's based off of looks, but, Esther and her character and everything shines through, and she ends up winning everybody over. Mordecai finds out about a plot to kill Ahasuerus. It's brought to Esther, and Esther brings it before him. And this is going to be a key later because, they forgot to do anything good for him. Then chapter 3, we have Haman getting promoted. Just should have went around his business, but he didn't. Everybody bowed to him except for Mordecai. And so Mordecai goes to the king, misrepresents the Jews, and gets a decree to have them all killed. Great story. We'll read 4 chapters tomorrow. This is a book of 10 chapters, so one time we should in order to keep cohesion. I forgot to add. Some people point out that the timeline doesn't work in Esther because in chapter 2, verses 5 through 6, it says, "Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew who was named Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjaminite. Now it says, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with captivity, which he had been carried away with, Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away." And so what they're saying is, Mordecai couldn't be this guy because that happened at this point more than a century ago. Mordecai would be more than 100 years old. It's talking about Shimei, the son of Kish, the Benjaminite. It is not talking about Mordecai. I find it funny when people try to discredit the Bible by going to the Bible and then referencing other events in the Bible. No, this could be talking about Mordecai. This timeline doesn't work. They weren't carried away. Wait, you're admitting they were carried away? You're admitting it. The Bible's the Word of God. All right. Hope you have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow.